makes me want to have a bowl. And then we drive on because that's a good segue there into the next one, which is that there was potentially fatal synthetic imitation cannabis detected in Ireland last year. I should have put a fucking exclamation mark in that last year. Because why are we only finding out about this now? Why was this not on the headlines of every newspaper across Ireland saying that the Forensic Science Ireland have detected potentially fatal synthetic imitation cannabis in Ireland? Why was that not a headline that was out there when they made this discovery last year? How many people have suffered as a result of not knowing that this stuff was out there, because it wasn't coming from sources such as this? There's a big danger there. And again, the biggest way we can alleviate this problem in our society is by ending prohibition, giving people safe and regulated access to cannabis, protect the consumers. That's what our government should be there for, to educate and protect consumers. Sadly, they're bloody failing. So this was coming out of the Forensic Science Ireland, who released their annual report for 2019 and 2020. And in July 2020 was when this discovery was made, and it was after the Gardaí seized 80 grams of green plant material. I'll actually pop up the case study here on the page for you. There we go. This was the case study, but you can have a read off this if you like. But in July 2020, Gardaí seized 80 grams of green plant material they assumed to be cannabis. It was sent for analysis to the Forensic Science Ireland, who found it to be organic plant material which had been impregnated with MDMB4EN Pinaca, P-I-N-A-C-A. Forensic Science Ireland has since seen multiple further cases of what appears to be cannabis containing the substance. So to any naysayers out there who believe that there is no contaminated cannabis in Ireland, well, guess what? The Forensic Science Ireland know about it, and they've known about it since last year, and they don't tell us about it until they released their fucking report there earlier today. Shame on these guys, the untold harm that's been done out there at the moment. And, Frank Fian, what's he doing about this? He's overseeing our national drugs strategy, but he's also the minister in charge of public health or something like that, I think it is. I'm just going to look up his full role there now. Minister Frank Fian. But he's responsible for public health as well. Minister for State for Public Health, Wellbeing and National Drug Strategy, and since July 2020. So the Forensic Science Ireland have really dropped the ball here. The Forensic Science Ireland should have been straight on to old Frankie Fian and said, come here, Frank, we're detecting cannabis there that's after being sprayed with some far more harmful chemicals than what's actually in cannabis itself. Maybe you should control and regulate the supply of this to adults in society, because prohibition has failed, and these substances that are being found on the market now as a result of prohibition are far more dangerous to the Irish consumer and could result in the death of an Irish consumer. Why aren't they doing this? I do not understand why they are not doing it, unless it's that they basically don't really care about us, the people. It's more about their job, their prohibition. When you look at the stats coming out of the Forensic Science Ireland, you look at it here popping up on screen, okay? This is from 2018 to 2020, so a 3-year mapping of the work that's being done by Forensic Science Ireland. So over the 3 years, you've seen a 38% increase in the drugs and toxicology cases. So in 2018, it was at 9,577, and in 2020, it was 13,184. So that was the 38% increase. But then you look at the total cases then in comparison of that. It's almost 50% of the cases. I actually have it broken down here. Even further. So when you break it down there, you find that in 2018, over 57% of the work done by the Forensic Science Ireland was to investigate drugs. That was 57% of the work. 2019 it was 55, and 2020 it was 45. Now I have to add in that the reason why we're seeing such a significant drop of the work being done in 2020 is because if you look here, you see fingerprint cases and document and handwriting cases and are adding to the numbers there. Now, the biometric data has been excluded here. If you're looking at the legend on the side of the table here, that's been excluded from the total at the end. So the fingerprinting cases and the document and handwriting cases have added to the number there, which reduced the percentage of the drug kind of cases that Forensic Science Ireland were dealing with. But even then, look, when you go into the fingerprinting cases, what you find is actually 10% of the fingerprinting cases, it's the third one down there in the list, is drugs. So another 10% there of the cases from the fingerprinting was to do with drugs, and that's over 600 cases, because there was 6,072 cases of fingerprinting cases. So again, you know, that would have brought up the percentage there a little bit in 2020. But absolutely crazy that the state is wasting so much bloody money on these guys, because these guys have, this is their budget, 17.44 million for 2020, along with a granting of almost 40 million for the building of a new laboratory in, I believe that's in Kilkenny, I think, or is it Kildare, back Weston, I think that's Kildare. Absolutely crazy, like, that we're wasting so much money at a time when we're about to head into a recession. You know, we've the government there, and they're reducing people's public unemployment payments and all of this stuff. Do you know that they're gonna? But meanwhile, they have no problem wasting money, and that's exactly what's going on here. They're wasting Irish taxpayers' money. So if you go to, like, let's say that they had a 17 million budget there for 2018. I think over 55, was it 55%? We go back into it there, 57%. So 57% of 17, that's like 8.5 million, almost 9 million euro would have been for testing of drugs. Do you know, and you could apply that across the year, even at the 45% there in 2020. That's still close to 8 million euro that the Irish taxpayer is given to the Forensic Science Ireland to test our drugs. A lot of these cases are made up with Section 3s. Quite a few of them are actual drug dealing cases, more serious drug cases. So absolutely a crazy waste of money. When you think of the mental health services in Ireland, imagine what the mental health services could do with these millions that were thrown away at the drugs here to Forensic Science Ireland every year. Absolutely ridiculous. And what value are we actually getting back? As I just talked about there for a second, you know, the guys, it's over a year since they tested that cannabis, found it to be containing deadly chemicals not normally found in cannabis, and we don't really find out about it, you know, until a year later. Absolutely ridiculous. That this should have been released, like, as soon as they were finding this, that, like, this is deadly dangerous. But no, they don't do that. They don't believe in harm reduction work, because look, us drug users, it's better that we get a contaminated drug, suffer the ill effects of that, and then they hope that we might not engage in illegal drug use then afterwards. But is that really a moral, ethical approach for a government to be taken towards a large population of people in our country? I would say no, definitely not. But we look at the other findings from that report, and we look at the cocaine. So in cocaine, they found that there's been a year-on-year increase seen for street-level cocaine from 2016 to 2019. And you see a breakdown of the percentages there, going from 34% in 2016 to up to 45% in 2019. But more importantly, I suppose, if you were to look at this, the one in yellow orange is the important one. This is the purity of the cocaine upon importation. It's always been greater than that's been found on the street. So that tells us that the guys, once it's been imported, and this is no secret, everybody knows this already, like, that it's getting stepped on. And what does it get stepped on with? And they have it down here. Look, in the next one, it's getting stepped on of the 3 analytes examined for cocaine. Oh yes, of the 3 analytes examined, cocaine demonstrates the widest variety in adulterants. So this is for powdered drugs, including heroin as well. And cocaine that demonstrated the most wide variety of adulterants inside in it, with the exception of 2017. Benzocaine is the most commonly detected adulterant across that time period, closely followed by lavamisole, and I don't even know how to pronounce that. And I should have looked up what is that. Lavas. Small. Um, Miss Hall. Yeah, that's the one that was that the stuff that was found in fucking what's his name? Jeez, that RT bloody guy. What was his name? The guy who died after the coke. Can't even think of his name now. Ryan something, wasn't it? No, not Ryan Tuberty anyway. Jerry Ryan. Jerry Ryan, the late Jerry Ryan who died. I believe that's what was actually found in his one. It's a veterinary type of drug. It's used to treat parasitic worm infections. And more specifically, it's for hookworm infections. So it's not something you want to be sticking up your nose. In fairness, like. But again, look, this is prohibition in effect. You know, if imagine if this was alcohol, you know, that alcohol was being illegally imported into Ireland and it was coming in and it was like 50% pure, but by the time I reached the street, it was being 25% pure, and some of the contaminants being found inside of there were, I don't know, like spirits, all sorts of different kind of spirits, methylated spirits. That's the one I was trying to think of. Do you know, imagine like. That's exactly what would happen if we were to put in place a prohibition of alcohol, because prohibition doesn't work at all. It really bloody doesn't. So it's high time we end this once and for all. And I really do welcome the announcement there recently that the government are going to do the Citizens' Assembly. But what I didn't welcome is the fact that they're waiting until 2022 to do it. Why? Why in the name of God you have to wait until 2022 to go ahead with this Citizens' Assembly? What's wrong with September, October, November or December? All of these months are in this side of the year. You have the whole lot of June, July and August to prepare for them. You know, even if you've done it in October, you've all of September to prepare for it. Why in the name of God are they waiting until next year to do this again? I don't understand it. And as I said already in the show, like for alcoholics, for the drinkers out there, they were able to rush through legislation to facilitate on-street drinking, but they can't do this for the drug users out there, you know. The Citizens' Assembly, which is hopefully going to take place in January 2022, will look at the problem of drugs in Irish society and the possibility of decriminalising all drugs, and also the Green Party, Nessa Horrigan, was it her surname was, I think. She said that they're going to include the legalisation of cannabis also as a topic for discussion to be examined, I suppose, by the Citizens' Assembly. So again, I really do look forward to that taking place, but I'm just fucking rather ashamed, to be honest, that it's stated for next year rather than this year. We've been waiting so long for this, like from the inception of our government last year, when it was promised in the programme for government. It's been called for. People have been calling for the Citizens' Assembly. They have not delivered on it, like, and sadly, as a result of that, people are going to be dying out there on the streets of Ireland, and shaming it. And also, then we have the organised crime gangs who are being very much empowered over the last couple of months there because of this prohibition too. It makes me want to have a bowl.